burn a little something just to like center myself because I am so mad. Hello, council members. Thank you for having us. I'd like to say that 1 minute is unjust after 40 years of struggle, and I ask the council president to make exemptions for folks reading comments for others and to be lenient with time. We'd like to acknowledge and uplift the residents of Barrio Logan. It's because of their irrepressible spirit and continual struggle for environmental justice that we're here today. So we're asking council to stand with community today to approve this plan as it is, unanimously and swiftly, without any exemptions for industry. Thank you very much. 40 years of struggle, and you can address the city council for a minute. Doesn't feel right.
Since the early 20th century, industry and homes have coexisted here in Barrio Logan, a small, predominantly Chicano community on San Diego's working waterfront. Residents here have been fighting for decades for policy changes that minimize industry in the area and create a less polluted community. This film captures the moments leading up to a critical city council vote that would prevent any new industry from building in the community. And when paired with a plan to electrify the big rigs that cut through the neighborhood to access support, could finally pave the way for a cleaner future. It also explores tensions as old as the barrio itself. As a local business that produces biofuel attempts to expand its footprint, even as neighbors begin filing complaints about the noxious smells coming from the facility. That's where our story begins.
What I'm doing is I'm notifying all my tenants about this smell. Too bad the smell can't go through the lens right now because it is terrible out here. Buenas tardes, ¿cómo está? Bien, bien, aquí ya sabe, trabajando. Mire, le estoy dejando una notificación aquí para... ¿Usted huele el olor que pasa por aquí?
Dios, está muy feo.
Very bad, very bad, very.
Está muy feo, no se aguanta ese olor.
Muy, very bad, no, se siente como que se quiere vomitar o con...
Sí,
she
muy
gets
feo,
sick,
duele la cabeza.
headaches, final vomit, type. This is what we're starting to do, so they're gonna start calling, complaining. Because always, you get more people involved, they take you a little bit more serious.
Air Pollution Control District.
Yes, my name is Maria, and I was given this phone number in order to make a complaint about the air pollution right across from us.
Okay, what is the name of the building?
During summertime, I'm not exaggerating, it's like you put a death or 2 or 3 dogs inside a plastic, and then the sun boils them, and that's the kind of smell we get. It's unbearable. And it comes from outdoors, inside. So most of the time we have to be locked in. Windows closed, because you don't know when the smell is going to invade.
We are an industrial business, so we needed a property that was properly zoned for industrial business. We also needed somewhere that was centrally located. So when we were working with the city on where to place the plant, Barrio Logan came up as a suggestion of where to be because of the proper zoning. New Leaf recycles cooking oil from area restaurants and converts it into biodiesel, which is an eco-friendly alternative to diesel fuel with 80% less carbon emissions.
Even if what the process that they're doing isn't toxic, their trucks are toxic. And even if they're biofuel, they're still emitting diesel particulate matter. At the end of the day, it's the same story. Our profit and what we bring to other people is more important than what we do and the harm we cause to the people here.
When I first moved in here, I was really excited. A lot of things were different. There's a freeway right across from me. I can hear the ships that are making these loud noises and working. But I never thought that it was something bad until I started to notice my breathing. It was starting to become almost as if I was working out, but I'm just sitting at home. I also notice it when I'm cleaning. When I take the screens off of my windows, I literally, I wash them and it's completely black, just like black water running through. I thought it was normal, but when I started to tell other people that weren't living in this area, they would say to me, I don't have to do that, or that doesn't happen to me. So that's what it is, it's the pollution here.
You can usually smell all the different fumes or chemicals that come through industries that are all surrounding us. You even see it most of the days, like even when it's a really clear sky, you kind of have like that gray haze that you could see, very faint. Once you see it, it's hard to not notice it anymore.
It's what people have been dealing with forever, and they continue to fight. It goes so far back to the community being zoned for industry back in the 30s, and that was at a time where Black and brown communities were not involved in the decision making that affected them.
Growing up in Logan Heights in general, you were part of the city of San Diego, yet you were not. You had separate and distinct worlds.
It was a very tight community. We practically knew everybody there because the people there didn't travel out of the area to buy things or stuff like that. Everything was done there. The churches, the theaters, the groceries, everything was right there in Logan Heights. Once the freeway came through, none of that happened after that. They didn't take a petition around, or they didn't send out flyers to let people know what was happening. They just came out and told people they were going to move and they're going to put a freeway through there. I'm sure it could have went through the industry area, it could have went through a white area, but it was easier because nobody was going to talk back. You want to go through the Mexican barrio, you go through it.
It was the road of least resistance, and they didn't care anyway.
Why did the people not resist to them?
They didn't know how. They didn't have access. They were politically unsavvy. They didn't elect people. That came many years later. The government and the school, if they said something, it was gospel. You believed them. You didn't resist. You couldn't. You didn't know how. And if you did, the police department would remind you, hey, we understand your resistance. You need to shut up. It just destroyed the community, and what remained was basically an industrial hub. And then that's when people started saying, hey, hell with that. Because we were another generation had the gumption, or huevos in Spanish, to stand up and say, bullshit, ain't gonna happen no more. We had no other option but to resist because of all the historical torment that our grandparents and families had to endure for us to be able to stand up. And ultimately that became Chicano Park. It grew out of that desperation of getting screwed one more time.
I feel like it's like what the community is still doing today. Like they're still picking up the shovel and planning their own community. They're still advocating for their own solution. We're still in the top 5% of most polluted communities in all of California. You don't hear that, right? You hear about Chicano Park and you hear about the art and you hear about this, but you don't realize that how in danger our community is.
If you mix family and industry, it's not good. It's not good for anyone's health. They should decide if it's going to be a neighborhood for families or an industry. We're breathing polluted air all the time. And then when people do go into cancer or something, oh, I wonder why. And we cannot afford to move anywhere else. My husband, he's retired and he has cancer, so we have to stay. We have to stay in order to survive.
There's just a cycle with problems that are constantly happening here, and we, the people that live here, are just having to fight and deal with it and speak up and do whatever we feel we can do to try and make a change. My health is the most important thing, but I don't know, like I don't want to live anywhere else. I want to live here. This is my home. Why do I have to leave? If those companies are the ones that are causing the pollution, it's going to continue whether I'm here or not. So they're the ones that need to decide when it's time for them to go.
When we tried to get a plan passed in 2013 that separated industry from community, there was a big pushback. I mean, it's not a secret. It got through council approval, but there was dispute around what we call the transition area. So like the area that says this is where industry stops and this is where community starts, and no industry throughout the zone. And there was a lot of pushback from industry at the time. The plan was overturned via referendum, so via citywide vote. Felt like just another punch in the gut. One more way that this brown, poor community is being told what's best for them. But it's okay, the community trudged on. The draft plan right now looks really great. It seems like everyone's on board, it's moving forward.
Everything that is Logan is because of the community, of the efforts that we have, of the love that we have for this land. I do see there's change in the people in power, that there has been a shift where more have very similar views on these issues that we have. Some of them are actually from this neighborhood or from neighborhoods that are very similar. They can do more than just like sympathize with us. They can actually really understand where our pain is coming from. And that's a big difference than what the people in the past that have been fighting for the same cause I'm fighting for now have had to deal with. But I'm still very cautious. We've had a lot of promises that didn't do anything.
I was born and raised in San Isidro. I live right next to the port of entry, and those impacts are real. You have diesel trucks going in through the neighborhood, and at the age of 3, I was diagnosed with severe asthma at the emergency room. You look at that moment, 30 years after that, children that look like me are being diagnosed with severe asthma at high rates. It's really time for us to think of strategies where you can have a good, smooth industry operation, not at the cost of health of the community. For us at the port, it's like, what can we do? And we have cleaner technology. We really need to take advantage of that and invest into it. The Maritime Clean Air Strategy is our strategy to reduce air pollution. It's looking at rail, ocean-going vessels, commercial harbor craft, different ways to reduce emissions. The big thing for me was looking at trucks, because even though they make a small population of the national registry, they contribute to a large pollution. How do we look at this small population of trucks and make sure we can get them to become cleaner, which is electric? We want to see 100% zero emission trucks. by 2030, 5 years before the state deadline. We can't do what we used to do in the past. Like, it needs to change. It's really us working together. For a long time, it's just pointing fingers like, oh, it's a freeway, oh, it's industry, oh, it's this. Okay, so let's see who's tackling, because we're gonna show by inventory who's reducing the pollutants.
At the time, 15 years ago, we certainly didn't know that there was an issue here in the neighborhood with environmental injustice and pollution. Those kinds of things we learned later after we'd built the plant, and certainly now we're devastated to be caught in the middle when our entire purpose of existing is to eradicate pollution. For the most part, we're really supportive of the plan. It has a lot of really good elements that I think are going to help the residents. We are, unfortunately, right in the middle of what they're calling the buffer zone, so that any new projects that we have will be subject to more scrutiny. We don't have to leave under the new zoning, but anytime you put a restriction on our ability to grow, it's scary for a business, because, stagnant businesses don't normally survive. We don't know what the future brings, other than we know that eventually we all want to move to electric. But there's another decade or so before we're going to get to that point where the long haul trucks that come in and out of the port can be electric. So we want to be able to stay here and continue to do what we do and provide more and more fuel to bridge that gap.
I remember the first time I came here, and I looked around and I was everywhere. I was on the walls, I was in the art, I was in the language, and I'd never felt more at home. I love going for a walk in the morning, and there's danzantes at the park, and you smell the copal, right? And then take off my shoes and you walk barefoot on the grass in Chicano Park, and you're reminded that you're part of this long line, this long history of resistance against erasure. I get grounded in that. It really informs my place in the world and my job and my art, and I'm so connected to that here, and I don't want to lose that.
As negative as pollution is, there's just so much positive in our lives. This is my first child. I think something that's fueling me to want to change all this, because I do want it to change for my kids. I don't want them to have to be in so much pollution. They'll have a better chance to live in a healthier neighborhood if we keep fighting now. But also, they will be able to grow up in the same kind of love and community that I grew up in. And I think that that's bigger than anything else. Knowing that you belong somewhere, that's something that I would hope that they can experience just as I've experienced.
We are pleased to present the Barrio Logan Community Plan update to you today.
A draft that further strengthens the community's vision.
La zona de protección entre las industrias y la vivienda es muy importante.
My entire family, my 5 siblings, grew up with severe asthma issues.
It's unfortunate that it was caused by the pollutants in the area I was raised in.
New Leaf is very grateful to be a part of this community.
You are not part of the community. You never even knew what we're about or who we were ever.
Please pass the plan today and also pass tenant protection policy in 2022. Thank you.
We will now go through member by member give each council member an opportunity to register your vote.
Councilmember Moreno?
Moreno, yes.
Council President Ila Rivera?
Yes.
And with that, Council President, that passes unanimously.
Thank you. That's very exciting.
beautiful faces. It's so amazing. You guys are the best. Woohoo! We did it. Oh.
I think that everybody knows who brought this home, and that's the community.
Yeah.
You know, it's the community standing by, participating.
It's a new day for Barrio. For decades, the cities wanted it to be industrial. They wanted this to be industrial land. And my people are fierce, and they said, no, we are not leaving, and they never left. And I think that we won that decades-long battle that we are staying. No new industry can come, but I think the most exciting part is that because parts of the community are being switched over to housing only, it kind of opens the door to get the industry out. And for the residents, it's to come back into the barrio. Kind of zero in on our favorite themes for the park. There's a lot of work to do. I mean, we're gonna take a breath and we're gonna be excited, but the fight is not over, far from over. Oh, I love this place. I love Barrio Logan. Que viva el barrio.